Hi, my name is Pamela Guest. I wrote the book Artistic, The Art of Redefining a Label, so I could share the story of my son Dylan's struggles and challenges with the public school system as a student with mild autism and learning differences. When we first learned that Dylan's differences were typical of the characteristics of mild autism, my inclination, like most parents, I guess, was to focus on the probable limitations that were implied. I had no idea at that time that the same behaviors that qualified him for the autism label would be the characteristics that would contribute the most to his success. I was blessed to have a support system that helped me to see beyond what appeared to be so different about my baby boy and to recognize that he was a bright and very capable individual who just happened to do things differently. In our minds, his differences didn't have to mean that he wasn't able. They meant that he was differently able, and so that's how I learned to interact with him. His preferred methods were always consistent, and as long as I presented information and ideas to him in a way that was in line with the way he received it best, I could get him to learn almost anything. My biggest problem over those primary school years was in getting his educators to understand what worked for him and in convincing them that he was able to learn. I spent a lot of time trying to encourage them to meet him halfway between their methods and his learning style. In most instances, though, it was just not the way they were required to teach him, nor the way they expected him to learn. If I had surrendered to the naysayers and believed the ideas that my boy would be limited by his challenges and would most likely not ever be able to function in the world without my help or the accommodations of some type of support system, I would never have challenged him to reach beyond the narrow sights of a school system that favors conformity to individuality. I would never have challenged everything I thought was biased and unaccommodating about the way he was being taught, nor the unrealistic expectations that were being imposed on him, despite the system's regularly scheduled attempts to justify their actions with mediocre demonstrations of improvement and achievement. Children who learn differently need to be taught differently, and not just herded through the standard regimented curriculum given a token allotment of extra time and a calculator. But I hadn't surrendered to the expectations of the disability. Instead, I decided to redefine them. By redefining them, I was able to see Dylan for the beautiful and talented individual whose only issues were being imposed on him by a society that recognizes mediocrity and uniformity as normal, while it immediately dismisses any outliers to that norm as somehow less than worthy of a second glance. The fact is that those outliers usually end up becoming the Thomas Edisons, Temple Grandins, Galileos, and Albert Einsteins of our time. Dylan is not a savant. In fact, he didn't demonstrate any obvious artistic talents when he was young. The same materials that he uses today to paint and sculpt his way into our hearts were the materials that he avoided most as a child. He didn't like messy things and most certainly didn't want them on his hands or clothes. Sometimes when I see him today, covered from head to toe in plaster or paint, I think back to those no mess days and reflect on the incredible amount of hard work, faith, patience, and love it took for him to get where he is now. The book is almost finished now, and since it's going to be a self published venture, I'm launching this Kickstarter campaign so I can get the job done right. Your pledge will help me to get this book on shelves as quickly as possible. Don't forget to share this link with family and friends. Think about it. With surveys indicating that 1 in 50 school-age children has some form of autism or other learning-based disability, you're bound to know someone who will benefit from this information. As my thanks to you, I'm offering an exciting selection of rewards, including the book itself and archive quality prints of some of Dylan's artwork. But the best reward of all will be the countless number of families that are touched with a ray of hope after reading Dylan's story. Thank you.